So it's going to be according to the size of your business. But let's say when we are like a small and medium business size, first is going to be like to really take control of your days, because my platform is the future of work. So it's to fast track the success of my clients so they don't become obsolete in the market. But really, like, tomorrow doesn't exist and the past is over.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset, everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer. Be sure to head over to clicksandbricksacademy.com so you can access all the resources to start improving your sales today.
Today, I'm going to be talking to Cindy from New Skies Nation. She is a growth leadership company. She really helps companies that are already growing accelerate that growth and really get to the next level. How are you doing today, Cindy?
Good, and thanks a lot, Ken, for having me on your show. It's
no
an
problem.
honor.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited to hear your story. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do specifically now?
Awesome. So for the accent and the last name, I'm French, and I've been living in the US now for more than 20 years. And before the US, I've been living in Latin America. So I've been living in Europe, Latin America, and the US, different cities throughout those countries and continents. And before becoming an entrepreneur, I spent 20 years in corporate America, working for a Fortune 50 company, a tech company. And I had the opportunities throughout my 20-year career to really span different departments, marketing, supply chain, sales. I was running a business unit with what we call profit and loss responsibility. And after 20 years, I became an entrepreneur when I became a leadership coach, business and executive coach, and also a keynote speaker. And as you were mentioning, my focus is to help leaders and companies to fast track their success so they could stay relevant in a super fast-paced world where we are living.
I know that when you're in the top, that Fortune 50 company mindset, it's wildly different. Everything's wildly different than your own business. The bureaucracy and the paperwork and the policies and the procedures are so in-depth because you're dealing with so many different people. Can you tell the audience a little bit about your mindset shift that you had to go through, leaving corporate America, and now you are in control of your own destiny? You don't have that golden parachute or the security, the golden handcuffs a lot of times of the Fortune 50s, right? You take those off somehow, and you're going to venture off into this new world of uncertainty. How did you accomplish doing that, and what was your mindset during that time?
So it's interesting because it's really two different worlds. I'm still grateful for my time in corporate America, and but as you were mentioning, it's a different environment, and the adjustment was difficult for me. The most difficult adjustment was to not have a team, because you are surrounded by really talented people. Everybody is really driven for results, and to be by yourself and dealing with everything that you need to deal as an entrepreneurship was a big shift to do in terms of mindset. The other mindset that also a big mindset shift, even if I was in sales when I was working for this Fortune 50 company, but it's totally different when you have like this logo on your name and you are selling because everybody wants your product. And now when you need to sell yourself and your service, it's a whole different game. And what is also interesting is people change, right? If you no longer have the title, you see who is your friends and who really value your personality and not so much like your title on your card. So this was like the two main mindset shifts. And also you mentioned, of course, like the financial security, no longer have and starting something from scratch. But on the bright side, and for me, this is like the super interesting part in this journey is the growth, right? Because you're an entrepreneur and most of your audience are entrepreneur. We are creating something from scratch. We are always creative, always innovative. And I think like this growth, personal growth and professional growth is really, really amazing. Because we don't have limit, we don't have structure, right? We could do whatever we want.
Right. You don't have anybody saying, don't do that. You don't have anybody really riding you hard to say, hey, get up and go to work. You got to do it today. You got to crush it today, right? You got to find all of that energy within yourself, right? Some people have it naturally. Not everybody has it, and that's okay. The people that have it should absolutely execute on it. So congratulations on making that jump, and it's been going great for you so far, and congratulations. And now you're 5 years into the business.
Yes.
And you have a 5, is it tips, tricks, habits? What do you call your 5 fundamentals for, you know, making sure that you keep on that path and really excel at everything that you're doing?
Yes, so it's like high performance, because this is what I help business leaders, executive or company, is really maintaining like this high performance. And I have like 5 critical elements. One is the vision, like you need to have a direction of where you want to go. And part of your vision is to understand what are like the mega trends, because in a world that is for an ever like changing world, we need to stay on top of the trends and stay ahead of the curve. So having like a vision, considering what is coming in the future. The second is your strategy. And the third is your system of execution, because sometimes I see people who have the vision, but they don't have a system to bring the vision to life. The fourth element will be your team. And even us as entrepreneur and small business owner, we need to develop around us ecosystem to have like people that will help us execute on our vision. And the fifth element, which is really like the core, is what I call like your inner game, to really be able to align your spirit, your mind, and your body. And it doesn't matter if you're an executive or you're a business owner or you work from someone, because at the end, we need our whole self to execute. And we see nowadays there is so much talk about mental health and wellness, because sometimes we don't take care of our entire self, spirit, mind, and body. So those are my 5 critical points: vision, strategy, execution, your dream team, and your inner game.
Fantastic. I just want to dive into each one of those at a high level and give the audience some tips or tricks on how to execute on those things, right? So your very first one is vision, right?
Yes.
How do you visualize where you want to be? And for me, I really love subjective kind of mind frames, right? I don't like being put into boxes and things like that. So it's really hard for me to visualize where I want to be, right? Because I don't want to be in just one box. I want to do all kinds of fun stuff. So it's really challenging for me. Do you have a tip or a trick to help somebody when they're going through that visualization process? How do they get in the right mindset to really visualize what they want to be or what they want to accomplish in their business?
Yes, so it's going to start by different like questioning too, because all of us, we have a kind of burning desire inside of us. So it's really like pulling of this desire. And of course, like your vision will change, will differ according the stage of life that you are, your family situation, financial situation. So it's really understanding where each person is and what is like this burning desire that we have inside of us. And even if maybe, because I am like you, Ken, I like to do like different things. And at the beginning, we're not going like to be so focused on one thing that might, at some point we might do it, and the execution to our focus. It's really like to put everything and then start organizing the different ideas, what makes sense, what really we can achieve, even if originally when we start the vision, there is no limit, but that sometimes some limits could happen according to the situation where we are in life. But it start exploring and asking questions to go deeper, so we could have at the end a vision statement of what we want to achieve. And also it's going to depend on the time frame. This is going also to be super important to define
Absolutely.
The vision.
So for me, it's really hard to narrow down what that is. It takes me a long time. I spend a lot of time thinking about what my vision is going to be and where I want to go, because I know if I work on what I want, I'll end up getting it, right? It's just a matter of time of really focusing on what I want to get. So for me, what I do is I take some very fundamental, really far out ones, and I write them down. I put them on postcards when I do get them, right? So when I do have my vision and I finally get it, I write on postcards, and I've kind of put them in weird places. I have one on the mirror in my bathroom. I've got one in my truck. I've got one at my desk. So when I'm going through, I keep seeing that goal in mind, and it helps me keep on pace to do it. So my problem is coming up with the vision. I'm really good at staying on task once I get that vision, but coming up with it and really defining it has been a lifelong challenge for me. And I think it's a challenge for a lot of people. And that's just really going back to, for me, knowing what you want is really knowing your why you're doing what you're doing. And that's going to really help you out. Like for me, it's my children. I want to make sure that they're happy and healthy for the rest of their lives. So that's why I do what I do. And that helps me stay focused. And it also helps me come down to my vision of what I want to be. Now, what was the second tip?
The second tip was the strategy.
The strategy. So dive into that. So if you're coming up with a strategy, is this just like you're sitting in your office at your day job and you're like, oh man, I want to do this, and you start coming up with a strategy? Or how does someone really define their strategy on what it is that they want to, or what it is that they're going to do, right? Now they know what they want to do now. Now it's like, oh, I have to put that into action.
Yes, so I'm like a lot into business and processes, and the same for the vision, that I didn't go into deeper. But I have like different, according if it's going to be your business vision, your career, or your life, I have a kind of key blocks that we're going to go deeper. And this is the same for your strategy. So let's say, for example, for your business audience, we will start to understand what is the revenue or what is the impact, because everybody is going to be driven differently. Some people are going to be driven by a certain amount of revenue or profit. Other is by the impact they want to achieve. So then we will understand what type of product or services we want to achieve, what are going, and so I have like all of those already in template to help people, because at the end, we are going to end up with one-page execution. Vision and execution is in one page. Then we will go, okay, we have a clear understanding, what is the impact? What is the different kind of product and revenue we want to produce? What will be our three main initiatives to achieve those objectives? What is going to be our channel? We will look at our financial cost. Remember, like, and we're going to go from each of the section to build our strategy. So we'll go at the impact, the product, services, the channel, the cost, and the main marketing and sales initiative. So
strategy is very important. My only tip there for everybody, when you're building your strategy, don't get too caught up with the fact that if you hit a roadblock or a hurdle, make sure that you can define the difference between a roadblock and a hurdle. Okay, this is hard to overcome, but I can. It's just a hurdle. Oh, there's a roadblock in my strategy, and I need to make a change in my strategy. Those are two things that you're going to run into. And if you create a strategy, and I know I've done this before, I've spent all this time creating a strategy, and this is how I'm going to execute, and I hit the brick wall, and I got a dead end pretty fast, and I sit there at that dead end for way too long. So you got to define, is this a dead end or is this a hurdle? And if it's a dead end, how am I going to get over it? So if it's a hurdle, how do I get over it? If it's a dead end, how do I reroute? Right? I got to maybe back up a little bit and reroute. So,
and it is critical, Ken, because yes, we will work on everything on paper, but at the end there is life, right? Yes. We are going to test, and we cannot be like married to our plan. We need to understand at the end what is really going on in the market, and to find a way. And for you, and I think like this is like a big question for all of us in entrepreneurship, is when do we need to quit? And not quit is not like closing the business, but to really go to another ride, or when we really like to overcome an obstacle. So what you are calling like the hurdle or the dead end, right. Definitely.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. I love that insight. Now your third tip is
execution.
Execution comes naturally somebody, right? There's no such thing as $1 million idea. There's only $1 million executions, right? Everybody's got $1 million idea, but it's if you can execute on it is the difference. So do you have any tips on how to, like, actionable things that if somebody's struggling, like they have the plan, they have the vision, and they're just really having trouble, getting off their butt and executing and moving forward? What would you tell that person today?
So it's going to be according to the size of your business. But let's say when we are like a small and medium business size, first is going to be like to really take control of your days, because my platform is the future of work. So it's to fast track the success of my clients so they don't become obsolete in the market. But really, like, tomorrow doesn't exist and the past is over. So it's really make the most of every day. And this is something that I'm seeing many people struggling, is to really be organized on their day to day. So to have, and once again, since I'm super into process, I have like a whole process to organize my day. I even create like my own journal to really be sure that I will tackle what needs to be tackled, like separating what is urgent, what is important, and scheduling and working on your mindset. So it's going to be like your personal organization. And in terms of your systems and your companies, this is the same. So to have a cadence, to have key performance indicators, and it doesn't matter how big or small your company is, but you need to have indicators to understand how you are doing versus your strategy. So this will be like the two or three tips I would give in terms of execution.
Yeah, my tip for execution would be put it on your calendar, right?
Yes,
have it pop up like every day or whatever it is, right? Whatever you want to do, put that task on your calendar. Give yourself 30 minutes, an hour to do those things. Like and literally it could be crazy. Like tomorrow at 2, I'm going to build an ad for my new company. And the next day at 2, I'm going to push the publish button and put $100 on it, right? Really put those little things on your calendar. They seem silly, but if you don't, they'll kind of slip on you and you don't do them.
Yeah, for this reason, like in the system that I share with my client to organize their days, once we start with a brain download, we prioritize what really, because sometimes we have like so many things to do that we cannot do everything in one day. So for this reason, after the brain download, let's prioritize what needs to be done. Let's schedule it, because if it's not scheduled, it doesn't exist. And at the end of the day, let's also like write and took notes or follow up and things that might need to be adjusted, right? Because once again, there is things happen during the day and new ideas or new events happen. But definitely scheduling is key, because a lot of people schedule their meetings, but they don't schedule the time to execute or to think about their businesses.
Absolutely. I'm so methodical about my calendar that I even put times to check my emails on it, right? So it has to be on there, or I just won't do it, or it'll just get way out of hand and then causes this anxiety of I've got to catch up one day. All right, on to the fourth fundamental.
The first one is your dream team, because we need a dream team to make the dream work. It's kind of cliche, but it's true.
Absolutely.
And when we are looking at those Fortune 50 companies, Fortune 10 companies, this is what they have. This is the talent, right? This is the people. At this moment, we have like the great resignation, because there is a talent war. So it's doing the best of our abilities to surround ourselves to people who could add value to our business, to our life. And of course, we need also to add value to their business and their life, but to identify what will be the key people, what are like the key networking group that you need to be part, but building the ecosystem of who you are going to surround yourself with. So your dream team.
I feel like a broken record right now, post-pandemic. We are currently, for the first time in my life, in an employee's marketplace.
Yeah.
Right? The employee today has more power than they've ever had, at least in the past 100 years, easily, right? Probably in the history of mankind. A person today does not have to ask anybody for a job. They got their phone, they can go to Uber, they can go to Postmates. If they've got feet, they can start delivering for Postmates, right? Especially if you're in big cities, right? So the fact that, I remember when I was younger, the anxiety around, can I get a job, was so high. Getting a job 25 years ago was really challenging. I had to print out, it wasn't easy to print out 400 or 500 resumes, right? It wasn't easy to get them out to 400 or 500 different businesses. It was a lot of work. It took stamps, and a couple $100 in stamps to find a job 20 years ago probably cost $500 to $1,000.
That's true.
Right? And today you've got email, and you've got Indeed and ZipRecruiter, and you've got all of these work on demand jobs. So employers are going to have to make a change on how they're keeping their culture and how they're treating their employees as a whole. And I don't think this trend's going away anytime soon. I think the pandemic put something into place sooner than it was going to get here anyway. I'm almost happy that it's happening now because it's accelerating this growth of internet and technology and all these things that we're seeing right now. So I'm super excited about the future, but I know that a lot of businesses are going to fail if they're not taking care of their teams, because they're not going to have the staff around to manage their clients, right? It's really, it's a little scary right now of where we're going. I like the path, and I can't wait to get there, although I want to enjoy every day. But we're going to see some weird stuff over the next 5 years, I think, with employment as a whole. So, yes. And that fifth and final tip is?
It's yourself, is your inner game.
Okay.
What I call like your holistic care, and really be intentional on strengthening your spirit, no matter what is your spiritual belief, renewing your mind, and nurturing your body. So it's really about like taking care of the whole you, because life and business come with challenges, and we are more like than our body. So, but it's not like the spirit alone, it's not the soul alone or the body. So it's really like be intentional of having a routine, either daily or weekly or monthly, but you take care of those three elements.
A lot of the audience knows that I am huge on fitness, diet, and exercise for business people. I think it's one of the most important things that you can do. I almost died 6 years ago because I wasn't taking care of myself and I was running a highly stressful business, right? And it nearly put me in the grave. So this is a huge part of my life today. And it has been for the last 6 years. Now, over the past couple of years, mindfulness has really become part of my practice, and doing the brain work that you need to do to have a more open mind, to create those new pathways and those new thought processes, right? And it's a lot of work, and it's challenging, and it's hard, but it is well worth it. My advice, and I'm not affiliated with Muse at all, but Muse makes a headset. If you've never meditated in your life and you have no clue what to do, it's roughly $300 on Amazon. Buy the Muse, download the app, and start playing with 2 and 3 minutes of meditation at a time, and then build on that. And you can really start getting into some of the stuff that Cindy's talking about here on the mindfulness and the spirituality. When we say spirituality, I don't think you're talking about religion at all, right? You're talking about that inner voice.
I think it depends of everybody, because I speak like to different audience. So for me personally, it is my faith. I'm a Christian faith. So for me, it's going to be like prayer and study the Bible. So because this is work for me.
Right.
For other people, this is going to be the contact with nature. I remember like one of my clients once, where she connect with herself is when she ride horses, right?
Right. That's my wife all day long.
So this is like for me, what is important is what works for you to really nurture this part. So so for me it's my Christian faith, but for other people it is different. So do it. So for my former colleague who was like client horses, be sure like you do like your ride horses at least like once a week. This is going like to help you. So Absolutely. For me it's open, but it's a matter of being intentional in adding it in your routine, and not spend like 1 year and I didn't go to a park, right? And I love walking with nature. So
yeah, my wife does daily walks. So every day she goes out to the woods and she walks for a half hour. We don't have horses at the moment, but she would definitely ride horses if she could. She trained them when she was a kid. So I totally agree with that. Find what it is for you. For me, it's meditation and boxing. Those are the things that help me keep mindful. For you, it's church. For a lot of my kids that I deal with, it's mosque, right? So whatever it is for you, your routine, do it, stick to it. It's not hocus pocus. It's real stuff. It will help you get through your days and through your difficult times. I absolutely promise. Now, yes. You are a successful businesswoman. You've got your own company. You've worked for Fortune 50. What would you tell a 25-year-old woman today that's currently working in corporate America and thinking about making that leap into entrepreneurship?
So for me, I would recommend like 2 main tips is nurturing, expanding your network, and be sure like you are positioning yourself each time in bigger and bigger room, having like people who are like super interested, who could add to you. And of course you need to add to them. So that means that you always need to invest in yourself and to grow. And the second part is financial literacy, because I'm no longer 25. I'm now closer to 50, and life goes super, super fast. And sometimes we hear about like retirement and really like this is something that at least on my case, I think I didn't took it like too seriously, and or lack of knowledge, and being intentional on financial literacy. And there is also data, because you are asking me for women of 25. This apply with both men and women, but we have data that women in general will lack even more like financial literacy than men. So it will be expand, work your network, build a rich network of relationship, and prepare yourself financially.
Absolutely. I love both of those tips. And you're right. They're not just for women. They're for anybody on the planet today that's thinking about going into business. For the networking stuff, the only advice that I have for you is just get up and go do it. Go to the BNIs, be active on LinkedIn, send out those requests, really just put yourself out there on a regular basis. It does get more comfortable, I promise. I know it feels really weird walking up to strangers and shaking their hand and introducing yourself, but it is worth it. You never know what's on the other side of that relationship.
Yes.
And as far as financial literacy, not my favorite gig. I balance a checkbook every morning and I look at my P&Ls every month. But if finances aren't your thing and you're going to go into business, make sure you hire an accountant that you trust, that like really, really trust. And then whenever you're going through these things, just simply say, hey man, I don't get it. Can you explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader? And have them, and just ask them the questions, beat them up, make them tell you, make it really break it down to the bare minimum so that you understand what's going on. Because stuff like deferred revenue and depreciation, it's confusing stuff, right? It's very, very confusing. And accountants can make any number be any number they want, right?
Yes.
So, but make sure you have a good accountant that you absolutely trust blindly. And it's very, very important to have that. I think probably an accountant that you trust is probably more important than having a lawyer that you trust. It's one of the most important things that you can have, unless you're just going to do it yourself. And if you do it yourself, make sure you understand the GAAP rules and all that other stuff, because it's a lot of stuff whenever you're dealing, even a business at $250,000 a year, you're going to have a decent amount of those things, and it's only going to get worse and worse as you grow. So Cindy, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, how would they do that?
So they can go to my website, either my name, cindymangenier.com or newskiesnation.com. You can reach out through all the social media channel, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. And in my website, they could contact me through email, through directly by phone. I have a Calendly link, and so like different ways when people could reach out to me.
Thank you so much for your time today. I had a blast, and I think the audience got a lot of great information from you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ken, for the invitation. For me also, it was like a lot of fun to
Awesome.
be with you and your audience.
That's it for today's show, folks. Again, if you'd like to join my text line community, the number is 314-370-2871. Get to work.